to Amazon. Hey everybody, we are doing a little live stream tonight. Got some work to do on my laptop here. And let me get going here on Amazon. So this is a bit of a relic from the past, but we're going to get this sucker up to par, and it's going to be fun. So what I'm actually in the process of recording a video. I just did all the opening stuff, so I figured I would play back what I just shot, so you can get a feel for all the ports on this thing. And then when this replay is done, we will start the process of getting this installed. What we're doing today is I bought this dual compact flash adapter because I want to take out the hard drive in here because it's starting to go, and put in essentially a solid state drive in the spot that the hard drive once occupied. And I think that is hopefully going to work. I was able to get the Windows 98 CD to boot up on this thing. I don't have the drivers though, so that's my only concern going into this. So we'll see how successful we are. I don't have a lot of time tonight, but I figured, hey, let's give this a go and see what we can get done here in about an hour or so. Okay, now we're going to put Windows 98 on here. So this was a monster back in its day. Yeah, check out the ports on this. I'm just going to play back a clip that I shot a few minutes ago while I get set up for this next shot. So have a look. 3, 2, 1. Now I think we paid about $2,500 for this back in 1998. And at the time I was working at my family's business remotely while I was in my dorm room at college, and I was driving back and forth from college to where our office was to handle IT problems as they arose, and we agreed that a laptop would be adequate compensation and also a good tool to get the work done. Now I think we paid about $2,500 for this, but when it came out it was like $6,000. Look how expensive this was. This is an ad that was in a magazine back in 1997. And this one we purchased right before Micron switched over to the Pentium 2 laptop processors, which were a lot faster. So they were kind of liquidating these machines. But this thing really was high spec for its day. And check out what it had: a 233 megahertz MMX processor. I don't know if I got 48 megs of RAM on mine. I think it had 16, but that was an option that was available. I think I did have the 3 gigabyte removable hard drive. It has a 13.3-inch active matrix display. Really high-end mobile PCI chipset here, a super fast CD-ROM on board. A lot of cool stuff, as you can see here. I think it even came with Microsoft Office as well. Now you'll notice a big gap here. That's where the battery used to go. I took the battery out because it was failing, and I figured it was time to properly dispose of it. What was neat about this machine is that it was modular. So when you pulled the battery out, you could slide in the floppy drive or another hard drive if you wanted to. So it was kind of neat to have those options. And you also have another modular slot here where the CD-ROM drive is. Let me see if I can get it out real quick. And so my recollection is that you could put the CD-ROM in here or a second hard drive. And then you also had the option to put a battery on this side too, because I remember taking a trip to China and I had 2 batteries on this thing. It weighed a ton. It weighs about 7.5 pounds without a battery, about 9 pounds with the battery. So it really added a lot of weight. Or you could have a floppy drive in the CD-ROM with no battery, or you could have, again, 2 batteries, or a battery and a hard drive and no CD-ROM. So you had some things that you could slide in and out. I do have the floppy drive somewhere. I don't think it's at the house. But that is something that I did have and it came with when I first got it. But you did have to pull out the floppy to put the battery in to get going with that. 3, 2, 1. Now there was a ton of connectivity on this beyond the modular design. Let me show you all the ports this thing had. So on the right-hand side here, let me give you the overhead view to give you a better view of everything here. You had a little port here for connecting a mobile phone. And I remember doing this with my Motorola, whatever phone I had back then. You could just plug in a special cable here and interface with the mobile phone to get the laptop on the internet. It also had a built-in modem that was software upgradable to 56K. It was 33.6 when it first came out, and then it got the upgrade. So all that was built right in, which was great. They had a game port adapter here for connecting up PC game controllers. This was also a MIDI controller for musical instruments. And then a new feature was a USB port. This was one of the first machines with USB because it was a new technology back then. There was also analog video out, which looked terrible, but you did have video out here for composite, and you also had S-video. And so there were situations where you might be on a projector and that's all it supported, but it just didn't look so great. This is where the hard drive is located. So again, you could put a second hard drive in, but the main drive is here, and you can easily pull out this little module to swap it out, and they sold additional modules, so you could very easily pop hard drives in and out. Some folks would have Linux on one hard drive and Windows on another. Your power switch is here. And then your RAM was upgradable through the port here at the bottom. Kind of odd to get such an upgradable machine, right? On the back here, we have the power input. You have a PS2 mouse and keyboard adapter. This is your serial port, the regular serial port. They also sold a docking system for this, and that's what would link up over here. You had microphone in and audio out right there. This is an infrared port. There's another one on the front, and you could use that to communicate with pocket PCs and that sort of thing. You had a parallel port here for printers. At one point, I had a zip drive connected to this parallel port and later a CD-ROM burner. And then we have a VGA output over here, which is probably what we'll use on future streams to play some games on it. Now, on this side, it looks like I have a network adapter plugged into it, but there were two PCMCIA or card bus slots here. So you could get two Type 2 cards, I believe they were called, or a Type 3 card, which would take up both slots, which is what this one is. And this one has a modem along with telephone pass-through, so you could plug a phone in and make calls. And then there was also an Ethernet jack here for 10100 Ethernet. I think it's 10100. And it looks like there's some lights or something that you could connect with a breakout box there as well. This is a Zircom Ethernet, yeah, it's 10100, so that's something that we'll maybe play with to get it on the internet, although I'm kind of nervous about connecting this to my network with Windows 98. So that is all the ports, and then you've got that other infrared port there on the front. So lots of stuff on here. Now this had, again, a 13.3-inch display, active matrix. It looked pretty good. There was a lot of backlight bleed, and I remember when I first booted it up because my laptop that I had prior to this was a Mac PowerBook 180C that had a beautiful but very tiny active matrix display. This one looked good, but not as good as that, primarily because it was larger, and again, when you had dark things on screen, you would get some of the backlight bleeding through. That display did work the last time I booted it up yesterday. Hopefully it will work when we start installing the operating system, so we'll give that a go. And then, like the ThinkPads at the time, you had the little pointing nub here. Mine is worn off, but there was a blue pointing nub that you could use, or a tiny little trackpad here. And this trackpad size was about the size of the trackpads for every laptop back then. So it's not unusually small. It just was very tiny in general. The keyboard still works, not bad. It's got some big keys with some decent travel. You get all this room here so you can make it work. Really nice stereo speakers on this one as well. So just a really cool machine for its time. And now what we're going to do is get that hard drive installed, and hopefully we can get Windows 98 installed on this old machine. All right, so there you go. That's the overview. I shot that a little bit earlier. And I think what I'm going to do here, and by the way, there's a bunch of questions coming in, so maybe I'll try to answer a few of those. First, I want to say hello to everybody. I'm missing a bunch of chats, but we have here, let me get the thing going here. I'll try to acknowledge as many people as I can. So we have Jason Jones here from YouTube on the YouTube chat. Batter Mods is here. Tim IT Tech is here. And we've got Recipe Bob is here. Matt Bell is here. 12 Free is here. Jason Jones is asking me to put Linux on it. I might later. Maybe we'll do that in the future. I'm probably going to go with Windows 98 on this one, just to get going with that. Harrison Brown is here. Is that a mechanical keyboard? I don't think so. It doesn't click. I think it's membrane keyboard. And Battermod says the 23-year-old hard drives aren't the best. Yeah, I think the hard drive that's in here, we'll find out when we pull it out. I think I changed it out a number of years ago, so it's definitely not running with the stock hard drive. Let me go back to page 1 here. Let's see. We got Steve Murray says, I look at a PATA SSD rather than CF card. I may look at one of those. I just found this because I have a bunch of these CF cards laying around, and I found this for like 13 bucks, so I figured, hey, let's get one. And what's neat about it, I'll give you the overhead view, is that I don't know if this supports master-slave IDE stuff, but we're going to try. because you can actually put 2 cards in this thing and have them work as a master-slave kind of deal. So we'll give it a shot and see if this works. So you put the master there, and the other one goes on the other side. So we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Steve Murray says USB 1.1, definitely. Yeah, this is like 12 megabit USB or 10, whatever it was back then. So that's where it is. Mark Dell says to try to run Shadow on it. Yeah, I don't think you could get this on one of those streaming servers. I don't know if that MMX processor could handle the high definition video on it, but maybe we'll try that at some point. Tim said, could this use an SSD? It could if you could find an IDE SSD. Absolutely. Absolutely. Romeric is here. Hello, good to see you again. B-Side says that you can get a replacement cap for $5. Cool. I got to check that out. See if I can find it. And Goxie asks, did you purchase it with my own funds? No, this one came from my dad back in '98. So yeah, so I got this in college, and it was a good deal. It was as you heard in the opening there, it was $2,500 when we got it, because they were liquidating these to begin the Pentium 2 processors. So that was what happened there. All right, so let me hit record here. All right, so we're going to first pull out the hard drive module here, and there's a screw that locks that in place. Look how long this screw is here. It's kind of crazy. So let's pull this out. Now, I think I've got a 3 gigabyte hard drive in here now, and it doesn't want to give itself up here too easily, so I need to figure out how to get that thing out of there. So it's not the original hard drive. It's one that I put in a number of years ago, and it looks like it doesn't want to get out there. So let me coax it a little bit, and we'll be back when I'm able to pull that drive out. All right. I'm going to hit I'm just recording a video for tomorrow morning. I thought it might be kind of a fun little video to have in the hopper for tomorrow. So I didn't get all that much shot this week. You know, the shadow thing took a long time to do because I wanted to cover all those different things and record all the different things that I did. So that was tricky. So how do we get this hard drive out of here? I'm thinking there's got to be like a release or something. Let me go flip it around this side. Ooh, it is really in there. So I pulled the screw out, and I think that's all that held it in. Oh, so that part comes off. And does it slide out? Like, how does it come out? I don't think it's supposed to do that. Oh, it's another screw? Maybe there's that screw. So hopefully I didn't break it. Let's see if this might be the screw that, yeah, that loosens it right up. That whole module comes out. All right, so let's pick it up from me, and we'll pick it up from there. Okay. 3, 2, 1. So as it turns out, there was a second screw that I had to undo here. I do have the manual for this. The manual was online for it. My big concern, though, is that while I could find the manual pretty easily, I could not find the drivers for this. So there might be some drivers that may not work. I did locate the video driver, so I have that, but I'm not sure about the other stuff. All right, so this is the hard drive that I pulled out of it, and this is definitely one that I bought later. For a while, I was just buying these IBM hard drives whenever I had the opportunity. So this is a 3.2 gigabyte drive, and I think the original one that I had crashed, or I wanted more space at some point, so that's what we've got in there right now, and this is just your standard IDE. And you can see just how much room there was for a larger physically sized hard drive if you needed that. So what I'm going to do now is unscrew the hard drive that's in here, and then we're going to attach up our new compact flash-based thing. So let me get to this real quick, and we'll be back when it's done. All right. And I need to get a different type of screwdriver. Or, worse, I think I stripped these screws way back in the day. So that's a problem. This is the beauty of live video, right? So I'm going to try to grab one of my other larger bits here and see if I can get those screws undone. And I might want to track down some replacements here, because these screws are totally stripped. That is not good. This may be over before it starts, everybody. Although I suppose, yeah, so it's all proprietary, so like I've got to get these screws out. I mean, they are totally stripped. Ugh, that's a heartbreak. If worst comes to worst, we can just install it on this hard drive. Oh, that's going. All right, we're going. Okay, I got it out. And the worst part is I don't have any more screws like these two, so we'll just have to make it work, I think. But I am getting it going here. All right, we're good. Okay. We're just going to pull that out. All right, bear with me for 1 second, folks. I just got to log my clip here. Just want to see where I left off on that, and then we'll continue onward here. Hope you're all doing well this Saturday evening. But I figured my wife and kids went out to see some Christmas lights. There's like this thing they're doing at one of the venues. All right, so I think I'll kind of pick it up from here. Just do it this way. Okay. So I had stripped the screws on this. Luckily, I was able to get them off. So we're going to now disconnect the drive. It's got a proprietary connector here. So while it is IDE, you have to get your drive into the pins here on this little thing, and then it will connect to the laptop with that connector there. So let's get this hard drive out. And unlike SATA, these things have pins that stick out, so you got to be really careful not to damage the pins on the way out here. So we're just going to give it a light pull, or a little bit heavier than the lighter pull, and get that out of there. Now, the compact flash adapter that I've got here actually supports 2 cards, and I'm not sure if the computer will work with both of them, but we'll stick it in. We won't screw everything down. We'll just put it in and see if it works. So what I've got here is an old 8 gig card from one of my older cameras. So I just cleared off some photos of that. The last time I used this card was about 10 years ago, and the same for the other card here we'll put on the other side of it. And these cards are both currently formatted FAT32, and I have some drivers that I was able to locate, as I mentioned, that I downloaded to this card. So we'll see if we're able to get at those. If not, I've got a USB stick we can use. All right, so we're going to put those in there, and we're just going to attach this up back to those pins. Get it in there. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to get this reconnected here. And I think I've got it in the right orientation. So we'll get that lined up there and just push it in, and I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good there. All right. So that is in. And I'm going to take those strip screws that we had and just very gently tighten this back up. So let me do that, and then we will boot it up and see if it works. This is exciting. All right, so let me just add this. Okay. Tim wants to know, does this have any kind of hardware accelerated graphics? And I believe it does. It's not 3D accelerated, but it's one of those PCI video adapters that did allow for that. So it did, for running around, oops, this whole thing just came apart. For running around the Windows interface, it was pretty good. All right, so that hard drive just popped right out of there. So I did not get it in there good enough, I don't think. And it hurts, like there's these pins on the back of it that like really hurt. So I'm trying not to cut my finger open here while I put this thing together. Let's see if I can get it in there. Get in there. It's not going in. It does not want to go in. And it looks like there's no, yeah, those pins are clear. It doesn't go in this way, obviously, because that would be totally off. Yeah, those pins just, I don't know if the pins are too big for the connectors or what. Like they slot in, but I can't get it to connect and push in. So I think what I might do, I don't want to damage the pins either. There it goes. Ooh, that was brutal. Okay, let's see if this is going to boot up now. Did you hear that click? That was brutal. And I think what I'll do here is put this back on. I'm not going to screw anything down just yet because I don't know if this is going to work with that second drive. So let's get this piece of plastic back on here. I mangled this thing. This is why you know, whenever you feel like you should force something, never a good idea to force stuff, because I just pulled this front panel right off of this thing. And now it's like not clicking back in. It might be because the hard drive's not fully, oh, it's all crooked. Okay, there we go. And partly because this thing's so old, it's like you don't put the same level of care into it. I really should, but there we go. Okay. Hard drive is in. We are good. And now we'll see if the magic smoke comes out. Okay, so let me get it over here. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we got everything connected. We're going to slide that drive back in. I'm not going to screw anything down just yet because I'm curious if this thing is even going to boot up with it, or at least post, as they say. So now what I'm going to do is get the screen open here. We're going to get the power connector, and we're going to see if it detects that drive. And there's no battery in this, so if we lose power, it goes out. Now, one thing I didn't cover in my initial overview was this little digital panel here. This kind of gave you an indicator as to what the system status was. And yeah, it looks like I got to plug it in first, so let me plug it into power. I didn't have the other end plugged in. I'm always nervous to leave these old power adapters plugged in when I'm not attending to them, so that's what happened there. So we're going to hit the power button here, and there we go. Good. Okay, so it is powering up, and it is recognizing a hard drive. I'm going to hit F2 here to jump into the BIOS on it. And our CD-ROM drive is a little flaky, so we're going to deal with that in a second. I found that the CD-ROM motor here is getting stuck, so sometimes I have to give it a little nudge, and it usually unsticks. But that was something it did a little bit earlier. We might need to WD-40 that or something at some point to loosen it up. This CMOS battery appears to be dead on this, but what I want to see is whether or not it is picking up the hard drive that we have installed on it. So I'm going to go over to the hard drive here, and it looks like it's not seeing anything. So perhaps this adapter isn't working, or the other issue here could be that it is not liking having 2 of those cards installed. But let's see what happens here when we just boot, because it will boot off the CD-ROM by default here. There it goes. And let it do its memory check here. And I'll zoom the camera in a bit too, and let's see if we can get a better view of the screen. And it just could be too that this this adapter is just not compatible, but we'll see. All right, so the CD-ROM now is activated. Now you can see whenever it's accessing the CD-ROM, you'll get a little CD indicator in there. And we're going to start Windows 98 setup from the CD-ROM. And let's see what we get here. It's very good to be able to boot from the CD, because back in the old days you had to have a floppy disk and go through this whole big process. Oh, okay, so it's not detecting the hard drive, so we're going to have to turn it off and figure out what's going on with that. So the first thing I'm going to do to troubleshoot this is we're going to pull that second disk out, and let's see if that gives us a better outcome here. All right. So that's not a good message to get there. You see how difficult it is to work with this old stuff? All right, so we're going to go and shut her down and disconnect power. And what I'm going to do here is pull up the overhead. And let's yank this thing out here. Ugh. So now the other problem is, I guess this door does come off by design because you have to be able to slide the drive out. And I'm hoping I can get at the, I can't, I'm gonna have to pull it back out again. Ugh. This thing was so hard to get in to begin with. So let me grab, trying to figure out the best way to push that drive out. There is a way to kind of poke it out from that spot there, which I might do. Because it's on the bottom of this. I guess I could, I hate to put too much pressure on those pins, but let's see if I can just pop it. There we go. Okay. And hopefully that didn't break anything. All right, so now we're going to put it back in with just the top card. And it could be, too, that this card, it might be like one of those UDMA cards or something, so maybe the controller's not compatible. So if this card doesn't work, we'll try this one. And then if this one doesn't work, I've got some like super old ones in the back, so I could probably get one of those going. So I have decades of compact flash cards in the repertoire here. So let's put it back in here and see if we can get it going again. The door is not on properly here. Let's see. Yeah, so FAT32, this is, yeah, I have Windows 98 2nd edition, which is what we're going to install. So we should be good on the FAT32 stuff. And the USB stick that I've got as a backup for the drivers is also FAT32 formatted. So I think we should be able to read that without a problem. What's interesting is that you could not boot off of USB. I'm just going to toss it in like this. You couldn't boot off of USB on this back in its day. I wonder if I putting this in upside down. No. Yeah, I am putting it in upside down. No wonder why I didn't go in. All right, hang on. This is why you don't have me do stuff, because everything I do is upside down. All right. Okay, there we go. Take two. And I got a feeling it's not going to work even after we do this, but let's take a shot at it anyhow and see what happens. That's the thing with this old equipment. You never know what's going to work and what isn't. I'm just going to jump into the BIOS and see if it picks up the drive now. I was just surprised that this thing boots up at all, to be honest with you, because it's been probably at least 10 years since I've turned it on. And like I said, the only hard drive not installed. Okay, so it's not detecting that drive. So let's turn it off again. All right, so let's pull that out. This may not work at all, but try a different card. That's definitely in there, so I'm not concerned about things not going in properly. So we're going to try now this 4 gig card. And this has a different controller. This is a little slower. So this might work. And I can get by with 4 gigs, because I got by with 4 gigs back in its day. I got to put this back on. Let's make sure this is in the right spot here. This is card, yes, EF master. Yeah, so the master is where the first is card 0, essentially. It's set up as a master-slave configuration. I may have bought the wrong one. That could very well be part of our problem here. So if worse comes to worse, I'll return this one and get... They have like single card adapters. Somebody else mentioned one of those like pre-configured hard drives or something, so I might... Did I put this backwards again? No, okay. All right. And it's definitely connected there, so that's working. Okay. Let's give this a shot. This may be a quick stream, everybody, because if it doesn't detect this, and I've got a couple more compact flash cards we can try, and we'll see what happens. Johnny Salazar in the Amazon chat says, what OS is this running? Well, this is going to run Windows 98. On the hard drive that I pulled out of it, it's got Windows 2000. And I loved Windows 2000. Yeah, it's still not seeing the hard drive. Okay, so let's turn that off again. I'm just going to go into setup anyhow and see what. Yeah, it's just not seeing it. See if I can change this. Oh yeah, so remember you could go in and set, like, you could manually set the cylinders, heads, and sectors and everything? I have no idea what that would be. But this could, the Ultra DMA mode could be an issue. The problem is I don't know the heads and cylinders and everything. That's the one thing I don't know, and that you don't have an option. Let's see, if I put it on auto, can I turn it on? Yeah, it's not giving me that option. It doesn't light up when I disable that. So I wonder, I think that Ultra DMA mode might be why it's not detecting it. All right, so let me turn it off again, and let me get an older card out of the back, and I'm going to go do that. So why don't you all talk amongst yourselves real quick, and I will be right back with another card here from the depths of my archive. You'll probably lose me here. I'm in concrete, so I'll be right back. Okay, I've got a few more cards, but I've got to see what's on these. So I've got a PNY here. I've got a run-of-the-mill SanDisk 1 gig, and I've got another one of these PNYs. So they're all different. So one of these is bound to work, because I think one of these had like the Ultra DMA. Both of the SanDisk cards did. So let's see if that gives us any difference here. Monty is writing in, are we trying to use a compact flash adapter? Yeah, the problem is the BIOS is not even detecting the drive, so I don't know if it's just not seeing it. So we could try to get FDisk going or whatever, but I don't think that's going to make a difference here because it's just not detecting anything. And what I need to do before we do anything is I need to see what is on this card here, so I'm just going to pop this in. I'm going to try the 133 here, because the BIOS is telling me that there's no hard drive at all. It's not seeing anything. Okay, bear with me here. I'm just going to check my card here to see what's on it. Like I said, I haven't looked at these cards in years. And this one is totally empty, it appears. Yeah, this one might be, let me give it a shot and see. All right, so this one's clear. Just reading through some of the comments here. Okay, so let's put this in again. And again, I think this might just be, I was reading there were some issues with this on the, with the reviews. And people were saying there were some problems that they were having related to voltages and whatever. So this might be the wrong adapter. All right, so we're going to put the 4 gig card in here real quick, and let's see if that gives us anything different. I'm getting good at getting this plastic thing back on, though. And yeah, it's possible we broke something when we put it back together. So we'll have to see here. I do have, I I know exactly where it is. It's at my old office. I do have the other hard drive module, and that plugs in the front here, and you can boot off of that if you want. So it could be that it doesn't, there's a conflict. You know what we're going to try? All right, let's try something here. Let me boot this up here and see if this is going to work. I can't disable the CD-ROM, but I'm curious if disabling it gets the hard drive detected. And if that's the case, there's a conflict, because I think now the more I think about it, that the CD-ROM drive is the slave device on the IDE bus on this. And I think that might be why that is. So let's see what happens. All right, so we're going to boot up again here. The display actually looks pretty much as good as it did when it was new. It's a little dimmer. You know, the bulb is getting weak, but it's still pretty good. Oh, it did see it. It's got that. See that? Found it. So we're back in business. So as expected, or as I thought, it was the controllers. These cards were the newer variety that had faster controllers on them that I think were UDMA or whatever, and I think that was what was going on here. So we're going to be down to 4 gigabytes, but it detected the drive. But now we're locked up. But that's progress, because it did detect it now. So that's what I wanted. So let me boot it up again. I'm just going to leave the drive ejected in case this... All right, so that's good. Yep, there we go. So primary master, yep, we're good. Now the question is, could we put the other one in? Or maybe what we'll do here is not, we'll cut our losses here and get one drive going. Because 4 gigs is more than it had, so that'll be good. All right, so where did we leave off on the video that I'm making here? Because now we've got a hard drive detected. All right, so let me see where we left things off here. Okay, let's just play this back real quick. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good there. All right. So that is in. And I'm going to take those strip screws that we had and just very gently tighten this back up. So let me do that. And all right, 3, 2. You'll get a little CD indicator in there. And we're going to start Windows 98 setup from the CD-ROM. We're going to have to turn it off and figure out what's going on with it. Okay, good. Now I know where we are. So now I can explain what happened. And we'll go from there. Okay. People are talking about the IRQs. Oh, those IRQ conflicts. You know what was really hard about those things back in the day is that about the time that I got this computer, my school got a campus-wide Ethernet network installed. And so the computer services people, they knew that they couldn't support every kid on campus. So they allowed me to start my own network card installation business. And they authorized a few of us on campus to do this as vendors, essentially, not to the school, but to the students. So I bought a case, not a case, but I think I would buy them like 6 at a time. I would buy these ISA Ethernet cards, these Kingston Ethernet cards, 10 megabits, because that's all we had for a network. And I would go around and install them in people's computers. And more often than not, a student would have bought a card on their own, and they couldn't get it working because of IRQ conflicts, because you had to go in and adjust the jumpers. And this was the early days of plug and play and everything, so it was crazy. Okay, so I think we are back in business here. And let me just go through the comments here that I missed. And we'll start recording real quick. Yeah, this thing makes a lot of noise. And what's funny is it's super quiet now because this hard drive was so noisy on it. It was really crazy. Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. Did I leave it off on me on the last? Okay. Big process. Troubleshoot this is we're going to pull that second disk out, and let's see if that gives us a better outcome here. Okay, now we know where we're at. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to create some kind of video, so we'll see how it works. Okay, and I'm sure, you know, I don't know if any of you know what the problem here is with these cards, but these were the faster compact flash cards that came out towards the 2010s, I think. Yeah, this one had, I bought probably around 2008, 2009. So it could just be that these cards have a newer controller. And I think there was some UDMA involved with that. So that could have been what that was. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we managed to figure out what the issue was, and it related to these two cards that we were using. I did try this card on its own and then this one on its own. And these are newer compact flash cards that I think had some kind of UDMA controller on there, and the computer just didn't like it. So I found some older cards. I've got one of these PNYs that I put into it that's only 4 gigabytes, but that's enough to get started. And now the computer has detected that 4 gigabyte IDE compact flash adapter here as the primary drive. So what I'm going to do now is get the CD-ROM reinstalled here, and we're going to exit the BIOS here and just boot up, although I'm getting a lot of beeps here. So let me shut it down. Let's reboot it and see if we can get Windows going now. Okay. I'm not sure what kind of video I'm going to have when this is over with, but it might be kind of fun. I think I'm going to have more editing to do than I was anticipating. Okay, so let's add that to the mix. And now I'm going to switch back to this camera here. We're going to turn this sucker off again and just boot up from scratch. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'm going to look at some of these things that you all are suggesting. And Luther here is quoting what somebody else suggested. And I'll put his comment up. Adony, MSATA. Yeah, let me look at one of those and see what we've got. Mark Dell wants to hear some of the noises coming out of this thing. Yeah, maybe I'll put my microphone up to it when I reboot it. It might be kind of fun. Okay, so let's try that out real quick. All right, let's boot this thing up. I'm going to take my microphone off and move it closer to the computer so you can hear all the sounds it makes. The hard drive is not as loud as it was because now it's totally silent, but the hard drive used to make a ton of noise on here, and the drive was older. But you can hear that CD-ROM spinning up. And let's see if we get this thing to boot now. There is a CMOS battery issue, so I expect to see that again. And then we'll hit that and hit F1 to resume. And off we go. Yeah, so that's the sound it's making. And again, it's making a lot less of a noise. And it has a fan, but you don't hear the fan ever because everything else is so loud on it. Okay. All right, so here we go. Okay, so now we're going to install Windows, hopefully. So we'll hit enter here, and it's going to go through the installation process. I am so happy that I can boot from the CD here because this would have been a real nightmare without it. And now we're going through all of the drive checking. Hopefully it doesn't find any problems with the drive. Now this drive is already formatted essentially FAT32. And it did find some issues here, so we'll have it fix it, and we'll skip the undo information. And we'll just fix everything here. This was used on a digital camera prior, and I'm probably going to format it if it gives me the option to do that. So we're going to let ScanDisk finish doing its thing, and we'll be back when it's done. This might take a while. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to format this. I don't know if we need to go through the whole ScanDisk if we're going to format, right? So Greg M remembers, yeah, that was always the bane of my existence, was when you'd have things boot off of a floppy and you get to like the 27th disk and things would fail on you. It happens often. Mark Dell loves hearing that little CD-ROM going. Yeah, the one problem with the CD-ROM on this thing is that the head is sticking a lot, so I may have to WD-40 that at some point. But yeah, we're doing Windows 98. I felt like Windows 98 would be the best compromise on this one, insofar as like what I plan to run on it, because we're looking at like mostly DOS games, because this didn't have a 3D accelerator, so you really wouldn't. It stopped being useful for games actually about the time it came out, because I bought this in '98, and by then I had a Voodoo card on my desktop computer. And so what I was running with at the time, actually the first computer I built was the one I was using at that point, and it started as a Pentium 166, and then you could upgrade in place. You could pull the 166 out and put in a 233. So I had the desktop 233 chip, and that was the first Intel chip that had a fan on it. The 166 didn't. It was just hanging out. So the little Intel boxed processor had a fan on the top of it, which you had to, of course, hook up to your power supply. And it was a nice little speed boost for that desktop machine. And this one was pretty much the same speed. I think when I benchmarked it, this one did just as well as my desktop did. And Mark Smith wants to know, is it 98 SE? Yes, this is 98 SE. And I found the disk image on the Internet Archive. And we're not going to connect this one to, I'm going to skip all this because it's going to go through the surface scan. I'm just going to reformat this thing. Oh, come on. I must repair these errors. See, this is what happens when I get impatient. I guess it wants to check the disk before you format it. But maybe if we reboot and it goes back through the process, it might go quicker. So we'll see what happens. Boot from CD-ROM. I just wonder if now the drive is in a better place, if it might... So Fred Smith is asking, is there a planned use for this? Yeah, I think what I wanted to do with this is I have a bunch of demo discs from the early 90s. And we did a live stream a few weeks ago with my 3DO, which was a popular or somewhat popular game console for a very short period of time. But I have all these cool demo discs, and the stream actually did really well for my channel. People were kind of engaged with it, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through some of those old demo discs from like '94 to '96 on this thing, and have this be the device. And I've got I got a new scaler. It's an open source thing that Bob from Retro RGB suggested I look at. That's going a lot quicker now, isn't it? And actually, I think that was the fast part. The free space is the slow part. And what it'll do is it'll allow me to get video out of this thing at a pretty decent level of quality. And I thought it would be fun to like run it on original hardware, and rather than going out and trying to find parts and... Okay, so found, I think it looks like 2 gigs of data that might be one or more lost files or directories, probably sitting in space. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Delete it. All right, we're going to delete. And we'll skip undo. Yeah, it looks like I should have just let it do its thing. So we might just watch this paint dry for a while before this finishes up. And, oh, I got some super chats here that I missed. First of all, I want to thank you for those. Jeff Elder, thank you very much. Let me find your super chat here. Sometimes my thing doesn't always put them up on my thing here, so I gotta keep jumping back and forth. But thank you very much for the super chat. For us IT engineers that are 40 and older, I feel your pain. And Eric's Variety Channel also contributed. It hasn't shown up on my end yet. I wonder if you did a super sticker. But Eric's Variety Channel, thank you for your contribution as well. And yours came in a little bit earlier. That's why I didn't see it. Let me pull it up. I was distracted by my computer here fighting with it. So let me go find yours, and I will put yours up as well. I apologize for missing that before. And hopefully that laptop you bought for me is still going well. Yeah, my system missed it, it looks like. Let's see. I don't see it here. Here it is. Thank you very much, Eric. And also to Jeff. Thank you both. Sorry about that. But now we got plenty of time to chat because this thing is going to go through its file system check. And Mark Dell says he's seen a lot of people building old computers. Actually, there was an article in the New York Times that quoted Clint from Lazy Game Reviews. And he just did a whole thing on, they just did a whole thing on the fact that people are buying these retro computers. And for me, it's like, the way I look at this stuff is that, I've got this thing sitting in a closet. So it's just kind of going to waste not being used for something. So if we can get some content out of it, let's do it. Even if nothing else, just to document it before it totally dies, It's, it was a real hot ticket in its day. And it's never been this quiet before, because usually that hard drive would be spinning. You'd hear all sorts of noise coming out of it. It is dead silent right now. And somebody wants me to use a spudger. On what? What should I spudger? Am I like behind on my chats? Oh yeah, I'm behind on my chats again. That's what's going on there. Okay. I'm still getting used to this interface. So what I'm looking at when you're chatting with me is I am looking at this vMix social thing that I've got here. And if I don't keep on it, it'll move, things jump off the end of the page. Like it just doesn't give me like a full, I would love for it to just give me a full page of stuff that I could just keep scrolling down. So that's why I'm seeing stuff for spudgers that was on an earlier page. Hot Sauce in Video Games says it used to take an hour, and he's probably right about this. I think we're all spoiled by how fast we can install Windows these days. So that's part of the problem. But you know what I love about YouTube and Amazon for that matter is that we've got, how many we have in here right now? We've got about 228 right now, I think. Yeah, 227 watching right now. This progress bar just kind of work its way through there. So there you go. Got another super chat. Grayson Petty, thank you very much. Been using computers since the days of the Apple II, Mac OS 7, and Windows 3.1. He's 38. Yeah, so my first computer was an Apple IIe, which I still have somewhere in the back room over there. And then after that, so what happened was my dad used to run the business out of the house. And the business started growing, and he had to move to an office. And he had an Apple IIe that he was running the business with, so that was the computer we had. Actually, the very first computer I had was the Timex Sinclair back there. Some of you know that as the ZX Spectrum, not the Spectrum, the ZX81 or whatever. That was the first one we got. But then we got the Apple because my father was using it for the business. He had he was using spreadsheet and his accounting stuff. He had this PF something accounting package on the Apple. And then when he moved the office out of the house, about a year or two later, he got me an Apple IIc. And then I had that for a long time. And then I got the 2GS back there. I bought that secondhand when I was 13. And then that was right when the PC really started becoming a thing. People were really moving to that. And the Macs were so expensive. So I got the 2GS, I think in 89 or 90. and then I got the PC in like a year or two later. I had a 386 PC, and then I got a 486, and it just kind of went from there. So this is probably like the fourth or fifth computer that I owned. And so I like to keep the stuff that mattered. And I got a lot of life out of this thing. I was using this, this laptop, again, it was purchased in 1998. And it was still in regular use in my workflow right through 2006 or so, easily. And then it retired for a while. Because you start running out of things, you know, like the things just don't run on it after, you know, like the things you need to run. But for a long time, it was really useful. I might have a picture of it from like back in that time. Let me see if I can find it. Because I had a picture of it. Let's see if I can find it in my, I think it's on my Google Photos. I know I have it stored there. Oh, what's going on here? The screen just went out. Uh-oh, there it just, huh. Well, that's bizarre. It's got like a built-in timer for the screen. It turns the backlight off. That's kind of neat. Let's see if I can find that picture. Because I bought a digital camera back in 1997, and I know I took a picture of this thing in use. Yep, there it is. Here it is. So this was it. This was in my, let me zoom in on it a little bit here. Can I go in any further? So this was the computer in use back in, this is the very same computer, back in 1998 from my Kodak digital camera that I got. And you can see what it looked like. This was April 3rd, 1998. And the room that it's in, so when I was a senior in college, I was the student body president. I had my own office. And so I would take the computer back and forth to the office. And then you can see some features on this. Okay, so some things that we don't have on it now. So this is the same CD-ROM drive that is currently installing Windows. That's exactly the same. Now you can see, let me tilt the camera down here real quick. So this open spot here is where I had the floppy drive. So the way the computer was configured in this mode, you could not, there was no, like the battery was not installed. So if I pulled the cord on it, it would turn off like any other computer. So your choices were, you could have the battery in but no floppy. That's what it was. And it came with both. But that slot was either floppy or battery, but not both. And you could not put the, no, I take that back. So you could put the floppy in here and then pull the CD-ROM drive out and put the battery in. Or put the battery in here and leave the CD-ROM in. And clearly, I felt it was important to have both. So, and I guess I must have thought, hey, I'm at a place with an outlet. And then you'll see here on the side that is a Ethernet connection. So I bought a Linksys Ethernet card, and then I had that running to the network. And unfortunately, you can't see it in this picture, but the network we had on campus was coax Ethernet. So it was just one big loop in the office. So that breakout box had a RJ45 connector, and it also had a coax connector on there. Isn't that cool? And I was running Outlook Express, and you can see the nub is in better shape there. Isn't that cool? And you can see my very messy desk. There's my pen. I had a Dilbert calendar. That's cool, huh? Yeah, that was my old student government office. And at that point, like, people weren't using that much email on campus. So so I had a lot of interfacing with different administrators. And what was cool about my school, I went to the University of Hartford, is that they involved the students in the student government elected people. They involved us with all of the stuff that was going on campus. So some of the people in the administration were email people and some weren't. So you could email the email people, and then you had to send a memo, like type out the memo and print it out and put it in an interdepartmental envelope and send it off. So you would be on the phone a lot. That's how things would go. So that's it. Mark Dell wants to know, how did I find the photo so quickly? Well, you know what I did is I put all of my old photos into Google Photos, and I typed in computer desk, and it just found it based on its AI craziness. Isn't that wild? So that's what we had there. And we're still doing the install. So you know what I might do? This is going to be painful for you watching, but I'm actually going to redo, I'm just going to shoot a little thing about what I just said. So let me go back to the computer screen here and zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I can't read what's on the screen because the photo resolution of that digital camera is so low. It's hard to see. All right, let's try this. Do a little record here. 3, 2, 1. All right, while we're getting the Windows installation going, as we were doing the live stream here, I stumbled across a photo of this thing in use back in April of 1998. I was the student body president at the University of Hartford that year, and I had my own office. And I used to take the laptop to the office with me. Now this is Outlook Express running. That's what I was using for email. Now you'll note here the configuration that the laptop was in. So we had the CD-ROM drive in on the right-hand slot, and that is the very same CD-ROM that is on it right now. And then in the other slot, you can see I had the floppy drive. Now in this configuration, I did not have the battery installed, so if the power got pulled out, or I wanted to get up and walk away, the computer would turn off because the battery just wasn't installed. But you had, again, the option to put the battery in here and leave the CD-ROM in, or pull the CD-ROM out and put the battery in its slot. But you couldn't have the floppy, the CD-ROM, and the battery in all at the same time. But the good news was you could buy another battery if you wanted to, and have that as an option there. Again, very upgradable. You also note that the little nub is definitely more visible there. And the Ethernet that it was connected to was through a Linksys PC MCIA card that I bought. And we had coax Ethernet there. So the card had a little breakout connector, and on it was a BNC connector for connecting coax cable, and it also had the RJ45 connector that we're familiar with today for Ethernet, and you could choose which of those two you'd want to use. Wi-Fi was not yet available widely to consumers at that point, so you just didn't get up with your laptop. It stayed on the desk for the most part when you were connected to the network, and that is what was at play there. Very cool stuff, and a nice little nostalgic look at this thing in action 23 years ago, just about. All right, that was a good little take. Yeah, this is going to be one of these weird rambling videos that I hope goes somewhere. What's funny is this the screen on this thing will disable itself. It's got like a little built-in screensaver. I wonder if they were concerned about the backlight going, because it seems like a BIOS level thing where it shuts the display off. And I'm sure I've got other pictures of this. I know there's a picture of this in my room post-college, but the room was so like a real disaster. It was really embarrassing, so I'm not going to show you that. That's cool, isn't it? Just to find that picture. Okay, so where are we at? We are 67%. And I'll tell you though, if my kids come home before this is done, we'll have to pick it up another time. But there we go. Let's get a little position better there. Now I could go and find like Doom or something. I think we should probably run something maybe. So maybe we'll do that. All right. Mark Smith was talking about coax networks were always weird. There were dead zones you couldn't link to. Yeah, it was. You had to be very careful with it. We had if I remember correctly, we had installed. So we had, I think we had 3 offices with doors, and then we had a bunch of cubicles down the other side. And so we put network drops at each of those. And if you didn't have something plugged in, you had to terminate the plugs. So you either had to have a computer connected, or you had to terminate. But it was easy to add more because you could get a little T adapter and just kind of string them across. The problem you ran into on the coax was that you'd have a lot of collisions because you weren't using a switch. You were essentially just all sharing the wire. So you didn't push a lot of data back and forth back then. But what I used to do, this is kind of ahead of my time, perhaps, but I was getting into MP3s around that point in time. So I had MP3s stored on my computer in my dorm room, and I used to stream them over the network to my office at the student government office. So that was kind of fun. Because the bit rate wasn't high on those. It was like 128K, so it was well within that. Monty's going to have dinner. We will see you in a little bit. And Bryant here remembers having to install Windows a lot. Yeah, I used to have to. You would almost do it like once a year, because the thing would just get so gunked up. The registry on Windows 95 would get messed up, or you'd get virused. I once got one of those boot sector viruses on my computer. What happened was, it was the monkey B virus, which everybody would get. It would install itself into the master boot record. And I caught it from, this is a computer virus, from the secondhand hard drive that I bought. Because back then, those gigabyte hard drives were super expensive. This was like $94, $95. So I bought a gigabyte hard drive at one of those computer shows. It was like buying the hard drive like this. It was not packaged. It was actually pulled from a system. And whatever system it was in, it had the virus on it. And the virus would spread by floppy disks. So you'd put the floppy in, and it would copy itself to the hard drive's master boot record. And then it would just enable itself randomly. It was horrible. That was a whole reinstall that I had to do. And I was usually I was generally careful about that stuff. I always had antivirus, but it was not good. Frosty wants to know, at the university, do they have a camera pointing at the coffee machine? I'm not sure I get that one. We didn't have a coffee machine in the office. I probably don't get the joke. I'm too old. Yeah, those were bad viruses back then. All right, let's let this thing continue to go here. We're almost there. I have a feeling, though, when it gets to free space, it's going to take a while. I'm hoping we can skip the surface scan, because there's kind of no point in doing a surface scan on this thing, but we'll see. Grayson says that he prefers the Windows 7 interface. I like Windows 7. My favorite Windows was Windows 2000, which is on this hard drive. I like that quite a bit. And then I do like Windows 10. I have to admit it. I think it runs super nice. I have it running on my production computer here, and obviously on my Windows machines. And I do like Windows 10. I don't like all the extra stuff that gets thrown into the interface. The one thing that bugs me the most about Windows 10 is that I have paid for Windows 10 Pro licenses and Windows Home licenses, for that matter. And I'm continually bombarded with notifications and these apps like the game, what is one of those, Candy Crush, whatever, like it's showing up in the start menu. I never installed that stuff. Uh-oh, the kids are coming home. We may run out of time here, folks. Let me just let my wife know I'm streaming here. They went out to look at some Christmas lights. All right, and that's the display turning off the backlight. And I hit the key here and it comes back on. And that looks like a BIOS level thing. And let's get that screen focused again. So tomorrow we have to all get tested again. Because my second grader's teacher was sick with the COVID. Thankfully, we didn't catch it there, although I still think I got it at CES last year. And now my other daughter's teacher, my little one, got it. So my little one is quarantined for 10 days. So we're going to go get tested tomorrow morning. And I'm sure we're going to be fine. the weird thing is when my daughter's class had it, it went through her class from the teacher. Every kid that wasn't in class with my daughter the last academic year, well, not every kid, but the 2 kids that were positive were not with her last year. And all the other kids that were with her had no problems, which was interesting. All right. We're getting there. Although, again, I have a strong feeling the surface scan is going to kill us, but let's, let's see what happens. Yeah, it was a lot more of a heavy lift to install Windows back then. But I will say, this thing is whisper quiet now. Like, it used to make a ton of noise, even like when I booted it up the other day. Now, granted, this drive is getting old. So what's the date on this drive? Usually they date these things. Oh, there's the free space. Oh, there we go. This drive is dated. Is there a date on it? Okay. Setup has been interrupted or canceled. I didn't cancel anything. Oh no. So this is where it gets complicated now, right? It's like, you canceled it. I didn't cancel. I didn't touch it. It might become more of a project here to get Windows installed on this thing. All right, let's move from CD-ROM. All right, so let's start Windows 98 from CD-ROM. So Martin Bowe just brought 2 Pentium 4s to a recycling place, so that's a bummer. Yeah, Puppy Linux running on those. You know, I actually have, I'm trying to get the camera to focus again. I have a Pentium 4 in my back room there from my mother-in-law. That might end up being the machine we use for this if we're still running into trouble here. Okay, let's see here. Setup is preparing to install. Okay, so let's go through this. Okay, so Mark Dell says setup/is. I'm not sure how to even get there. I guess I can jump out to, all right, let's just say don't fix it this time. Okay, now it's ready. Okay, good. So we're moving along here now. Okay. Let's try and get this to focus again. There we go. Ah, same thing. Setup has been interrupted or canceled and cannot continue. Please remove any floppy disk from your drive and press any key. All right, so let's see if we can force a DOS prompt here. I haven't touched it. It's just canceling out on me. All right, so let me start the computer with CD-ROM support. And then we'll try Mark's suggestion here, setup/is. Okay, so now it should be drive D. Drive C, okay. So we got that on there. We got 4 gigs free. So we're going to go to D. Setup has been interrupted or canceled and cannot continue. I wonder if it's something with the drive. Maybe we'll format the drive real quick and just. Do we have fdisk on here? Okay, so let's try this now. We're going to format the drive. And let's see if that gives us a better outcome here. I think I'm going to record this part. Oops. Oops. Go back to D here real quick. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right, we've been having some trouble getting the install going, but the disk was already formatted with FAT32, so I figured I would try to maybe force the disk to get formatted to something that Windows might like better. So we're going to enable large disk support because we do have a 4 gig card installed in there. I'm going to hit yes, and what I'm going to do is just delete the active partitions here. Let's take a look and see what partitions it detects. So it's got this FAT32 one here. I'm just going to delete this one completely and then see if maybe creating a new one with this utility might work better, because it keeps getting us through the setup process and then dumping us out. So I'm going to go ahead here and get rid of that, and let's hit the thing here and hit yes. Okay, so now it's deleted, and now I'm going to create a new primary partition, and we'll create the primary DOS partition here. And do you want, I haven't done this in so many years, do you want to wish to, yes, and we'll just have it use all of the available space. And now we need to restart our system for the changes to take effect, and we'll do that. Okay, so let's hit the Control-Alt, where's the delete key? There it is, delete, and reboot this thing, and we will come back and hopefully be able to format the drive and move on from there. Okay. Now, for those of you who remember how to do this stuff, do we need to format it? I don't think we do. I think we can do that during setup, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let's see what happens. Okay, now it says operating system not found, because I think I booted off the hard drive by accident. Let me reboot this one more time. Things are so much easier these days. We get spoiled by like how easy it is to get an operating system installed now, right? All right, boot from CD-ROM. There we go. Okay. Start Windows 98 setup. Actually, we're going to start computer with CD. We're just going to do what we did before. Now, we are installing Windows 98 because we want to do this the easy way. But the goal here is to run some old DOS and Windows games on this thing at a later time. Okay. Something's smelling a little toasty now. I'm hoping we're not burning out something. I think it could just be the CD-ROM motor. All right, so now it's giving me another error. Windows setup requires, so it almost needs space on the hard drive to get going here. So that's a showstopper. So I think we need to format the drive. Although let me try starting up with Windows setup here and kind of go back through the beginning here and see if that might do it. By the way, I forgot to tell you how much RAM I had in this thing. I think I put in 96 megs, which I did much later when the price of RAM came down. Because when this came out, to get that much RAM was like super expensive. All right, so we're going to boot from CD-ROM. And we're just going to start setup. I'm just going to start from the beginning here. The good news is at least that the drive is detected, so that's encouraging, right? Okay, so continue. Aha, here we go. Format the drive, which is what we want. All right, so setup can format this drive. Okay, so let's reboot into Windows setup here, and let's format the drive. And hopefully, when this formatting is done, we will get Windows installed and operating. Yeah, well, Claus, what we want to do here, I don't want to do Linux on this because I don't want to emulate. I want to basically run these games native in DOS or in Windows 98 or whatever. So that's why we're doing this. And this thing, I don't think this thing would do very well with DOSBox because this is an old 22-year-old machine here, so it's not going to be up to that standard. Okay, here goes the routine check on our system again. So let's see if it passes through this time. All right. All right, I think we're getting further than we did before. Yes. All right, we have made progress here. And now we're going to go through the rest of this. Congratulations on choosing Windows 98. By the way, the screen didn't scale very well, so the text doesn't look all that clear here. But once you get into the native resolution, which I think is 1024 by 768, things look a lot sharper. But this was a really nice display again for the time. And now it's going to go through all of the hardware detection. We are putting in 98 second edition. And my hope is that a bulk of the drivers that it needs are on the Windows installation CD, because I looked around for some of the old restore CDs for this PC online, and I couldn't find anything but the original manual. So hopefully this will be a relatively smooth process. And this is going to take a while, so we're going to let this run its course here, and hopefully we'll have a Windows 98 system booting up here shortly. We're going to give it the old C Windows here and have it go through the motions, and it says it's going to take about 40 minutes. All right, we're getting there. Martin Bo says, I guess you're not connecting the internet. Yeah, my hope here is to not do that. Because I'd rather not have this on my network because I just don't know what, what kind of issues we might encounter with some of the things we might have to find to get drivers working and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to have it go through the basic, the basic stuff here. And the mouse button's not doing well here either, so. All right, and we're going to call this Micron, United States, start copying files. Please sit back and relax while Windows 98 installs on your computer. Hey, we already shaved like 12 minutes off the time here. And this CD-ROM actually was super fast for its time. This was a 20X CD, so it should go pretty well. Brim Sankor in the Amazon chat wants to know, can it run Crysis? No. But it can run Doom. Speaking of which, I should go find the DOS version of Doom. I have Doom 2 upstairs somewhere. Excuse me for 1 second. All right. Let me download the zip file here. All right, so it is installing, which is a great sign. And let's grab, I'm just going to find the Doom shareware version. Why is it unzipping these really weird files? it is, Doom Zip. That's what I wanted. Okay, let's take a look at that real quick. Perfect, that's what I was looking for. All right, so now I've got my memory stick here. We'll pop that into, actually I got a USB-C one here, perfect. And the USB stick that I have should work with this, so that'll probably be the primary way I move files back and forth. If I have to connect it to the network, I will, but I'll probably hook it up to my other internet connection so it doesn't create any real issues for me. My real hope here is that it detects all the hardware. We'll have to see. Grayson's feeling a sense of nostalgia. Yeah, I looked at these setup screens a lot back in my day. There was always something new and refreshing about like just cleaning out your Windows installation and just reinstalling everything. And Mark says, make sure I install the Plus Pack. Yeah, that probably won't be on today's agenda. And we got another super chat that I missed from Eric's Variety Channel. They used to have computer shows at the Valley Forge Convention Center in PA, and he got a virus from a secondhand hard drive also. So, yeah, I missed that again. I'm really sorry for missing all these super chats. That one was like 10 minutes ago. Yeah, it was weird. I used to do a lot of those computer fairs because you would get a really good deal on stuff. I remember, you know, everything back in the 90s, the mid 90s, was expensive on PCs. You know, you couldn't buy a $200 computer, and every component was so expensive. So I would go to those computer fairs all the time. That's where I got my 166 processor. I think I bought the motherboard there. I bought a. So one of the things that I ran into was, so when the real like demanding game, there was a lot of demanding games, but one that I remember most was Wing Commander 3. And that had Mark Hamill in it. It required 8 megs of RAM, like it was crazy. So when I finally got a configuration that could run it, I bought the game. And I had just a double speed CD-ROM, which read at 300K bytes per second. Not megabits or whatever, like it was slow, right? And it would probably take about like 3 or 4 minutes to get from the cutscene part to the game part. And I was at one of those computer fairs and I got a really good deal on a 4X drive, which doubled the speed, right? When you went from 2 to 4, you doubled your speed. So it was not uncommon to double the speed of things. Matt Bell asks, what kind of sound card does it have? Yeah, it's a Sound Blaster compatible. And I don't know exactly which one it is, but it is definitely Sound Blaster compatible. It doesn't have any wavetable synthesis or anything. It's got, it's just your usual FM synthesis, but it's fully Sound Blaster compatible. It is, though, a 16-bit sound card, so it does have higher quality audio. And you got the stereo speakers on there, too. Like I said, I used to listen to my MP3s on this, so it's pretty good. And Kasama says, yeah, this is actually a good point. Kind of has the touch bar on there. You can't actually touch it, but it gives you all the system info. So what we've got on there right now, you can see the CD-ROM and the hard drive light going. So it's copying data from the CD to the thing there. Now, next to it, there's a little computer icon. And I remember this now, that you have 2 IR receiver transmitter ports on this thing. You could send files to computers over infrared. So, or to like your Pocket PC. So I have one of those Pocket PCs back there. It's kind of hiding behind those little mini arcades. And it had an IR thing on the front of it. And I could transfer files back and forth between the computer and the handheld with those IR ports. And then you would assign which port was active with a function key. And then that's the caps lock. So if I hit the caps lock key, you'll see that light up. And then it's plugged into power, so you have the power indicator. You would get your battery indicators here as well. And if you had 2 batteries installed, you could see the status of both batteries. And I think you could switch between the batteries. I can't remember how that worked. And another reason to have 98 SE is that it supports MMX technology, which is what this one has. So this will be good like right up to, I used to play Wing Commander Prophecy on this, and that supported the MMX graphical extensions, but it was better on my computer with the Voodoo card. Yeah, now it's all coming back to me. And Brian Mitchell says sound cards are, yeah, isn't it funny? Like we don't think about sound cards anymore. Half the time it's all just digital out of your HDMI now, right? It's like, what? But you know, Creative Labs is still making sound blasters. You can buy them. You know, they're higher end DACs and better quality audio, less noise. I have one. I gotta get to reviewing that at some point because I do have a sound blaster in here. Frosty Winnipeg back then remembers paying $200 for 4 megabytes of memory. And that was back then, right? So just think about it. The memory was more than its weight in gold, basically. So here's a funny comment too. Here, I'll pull this one up. So you know what's funny was just how insecure Windows 95 and 98 were. Right, you had to install like a firewall app because back then when you dialed up to the internet, there was no firewall from your ISP. Your computer was just on the internet completely. And I remember one day, I had no idea this was the case. Now, I forgot what I was doing, but I was setting up something at my house. And we had 2 phone lines at the house. Now I remember what I did. We had 2 phone lines at the house, and I connected to my ISP on one of them, and then I connected to another ISP that we had through work or whatever on the other phone line. And I was shocked that I could connect to the file sharing on my computer over the internet. And I said, oh my God. And that was like the default configuration. Like Windows file sharing just made itself available to the internet. And so if you had an IP address for somebody, you could go in and just start taking their files out if they had shared without a password. And of course, the passwords were very weak to begin with, you know. So there was that. Some friend of mine got a little piece of software called Nuke. And if you typed in an IP address of any Windows computer, it would just lock it up. And remember, people didn't download updates back then, you know. So, you know, you would get these big service packs like once a year or if that. So for the most part, you were just running with whatever bug and security issue that you had. Like it was incredibly insecure, but nobody knew any better. Now it's a lot different. You get updates every, the second Tuesday of the month, right? But you would go years without updates here. And this was a new feature of Windows 98 was Windows Update. The Update Wizard reviews your system, recommends the updates you need. So this was right, people were starting to get online more, but for most people, they had to dial up. And I'll tell you what, it was a real bummer when I graduated college because we had, full-on T1 internet connection for the campus. By comparison, it was probably, by today's standards, very slow. It was only about a megabit symmetrical, but still, like that was fast back then. And so to go from that to going back to dial-up was painful when I got back home. We didn't get DSL for another 3 years or so. Okay, so question from Baratib. You don't have to ask it 500 times. And no, an Acer Chromebook is not good for gaming, unless you're game streaming from Stadia or from some other thing. Okay. Yeah, Trem says it's time to install Stacker. Oh my gosh, Stacker. I had a bad experience with, I think, with Stacker or one of those hard drive compression things. Okay, so now we're going to reboot. And I'm going to pop the CD-ROM out because it defaults to the CD-ROM. All right, we'll skip the memory test. That was quicker than 40 minutes. All right, we're ready to boot off the hard drive now. We have installed Windows, and we're getting to run Windows for the first time. And it's so weird to not hear the hard drive going on this thing, because for so many years that I've used this computer, all you would hear is the hard drive whirring and the head moving around. To have a completely silent running here is quite a different experience. And now we're going to go in and boot up Windows. The good news is the trackpad seems to work. And my chief concern right now is the video driver and whether or not it's going to detect that. So I'm just going to set this thing up. And I do not have this connected to the internet. And I'm going to try to live within the limitations that I would have been under back when it was new. And now, of course, I've got to put in my Windows product key. So let me track that down and type it in. All right. All right, I do have a product key because it came on the thing there. All right. And Terrell says, you still have hardware detection. That's right. So we've got another. So we'll see what we'll end up with here. Okay, so let me go in and find my product key. I got this on the Internet Archive. Another reason why I'm not too keen on hooking this thing up to my network, because I could not find the original installed disk. Because this thing came with the full restore, Windows and all the drivers, but of course I don't have that. So I've got a drive image that I got from the Internet Archive that may or may not be safe. So if it's not connected to the network, remember there's no Wi-Fi on this thing, so it is completely, so hopefully this key works actually. I remember there was like a key generator you could get, because it wouldn't, nobody was on the internet, so like all the activation stuff didn't happen back then. So if you had a key, it's all you needed. I think they started enforcing it with some versions of it, maybe? I think maybe it was XP that started the activation. It was like Word that they started the activation with Word. All right, so we got the key installed there. We're good to go. We passed muster with that. And now we're going through the hardware detection. And during the live stream, I was mentioning just how fast this was going. And then a viewer reminded me here that we have hardware detection, which is going to be the rest of that 40 minutes. So this will take a while. But this is, for its day, a pretty advanced system. So I suspect that a lot of the hardware will get detected properly and will be part of this Windows 98 driver installation. So I'm just going to pop the CD-ROM back in, because this was set to boot from the CD every time. And we'll see what happens here. So let's let this run its course, and hopefully when it's done, we'll have video and audio and everything else working on this machine, and we'll play some games on it. Okay, we're getting there. This is part 2, 3. All right, welcome to the PC MCIA card wizard. This wizard will help you remove your existing PC card drivers. Are you using a PC card? Hang on, let me see what we've got here. Give me a second. Are you using a PC card, network card, CD-ROM to install Windows? No. Windows did not find any real mode PC card drivers. Either you did not have any, or you have drivers Windows couldn't detect. If your PC cards are working properly before starting this wizard, you probably have drivers that Windows didn't detect. You should review your system files and install the drivers yourself. All right, we'll come back to that later. I don't need the PC card support right now, which will also keep us off the internet, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Andy over on Amazon is wondering what model do we have. This is a Micron Transport XKE from 1998. And I can give you my overhead view of what it looks like here. That's what it looks like. And yeah, we've been at this now for the last hour or so. And now it's detecting the non-plug-and-play hardware. Yeah, I'm really curious what it's going to detect here. Mark Dell says, I rarely get this many viewers. People like progress bars. You know what I found with YouTube is like the longer that you stream for, the more viewers it sends in. And I think it's because like it must figure that somebody's interested in it. But you know what's funny? The streams that have always worked best for me, both on Amazon and here, people like when you're doing something, like building something or taking something apart. Every time I take out my screwdriver set on a stream, the viewership goes up. It's really weird. And I think for me, it's like watching a car race for the accidents, because undoubtedly something is going to go wrong. We haven't had any like explosions or smoke lately, but that's happened. The 2GS back there blew up. We have to get that thing going again. You know what? I got a so funny story. Years ago, a friend of mine reached out to me. We got to get him on the channel one day. My friend Ken Gagney reached out to me. And he said, hey, there's a guy not far from you that used to run an Apple II user group, and he's got all this stuff. He's downsizing. He wants to get rid of it. And me, like, I should have known better, but I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Filled up my car. I've got 2 shelves worth of Apple II stuff, including a power supply for that 2GS back there. So maybe in a future stream, we'll get that 2GS going once again. That'll be a fun one, actually. And you know what's funny? These retro streams like just do well on my channel. So that's something that I think we might do. Okay, we're good. It's going to restart again. All right, the moment of truth, everybody. All right, so now all of the hardware, it says, has been detected. And now we're going to do our second Windows boot. This issue I'm running into here is, I think, due to a CMOS battery being dead, so we're going to have to track that down. But here we go. We are now booting into Windows 98. Now, I've got a new indicator here, which means that it is detecting the PC MCIA card that I have installed on there. And it looks like we're still going through some more hardware detection. So I hope we would be getting to the Windows screen here, but we'll come back when it's done. All right. And we'll keep going here. Matt Bell wants to know, what is my favorite Win9X or DOS game? I have to say that it's got to be Wing Commander. That's the one I got the most enjoyment out of. It had a great, it was a real good game. It had a good storyline to it. I like that a lot. I like some of the Sierra games too. So I would say like my 2 favorites would be Wing Commander 2. Just because the gameplay in Wing Commander 2 I thought was better than Wing Commander 3. What is this? Are we in January? I haven't I haven't left the house since March, so I have no idea what's going on. January, today is January 9th. I do have an Apple Watch now, so that should help me. Do we support the year 2000 in this thing? It's like stuck at 88. 2021. Oh, it doesn't. Let's just say 21. I don't know if it's going to work or not. January. Oh, it is have it. Okay, we're good. And we'll put us in Eastern time. And yeah, the CMOS is gone on this thing. So it is 6:52. Oh my gosh, it's getting late. 6:52 p.m. or 6:56 p.m. And it's something 56 where all of you are, right? Because you're all in different parts of the world. So we'll hit apply there. Okay. Now it's doing the control panel. And it's updating our shortcuts. I got to say, the compact flash card is a lot faster than the spinning drive was. I didn't think it would be much faster, but it feels like super snappy and fast and quiet. When did those adapters come out, the IDE adapters? Because if I knew about this, I would have done that a long time ago. Although I guess at the time, the cards were expensive, so it probably wouldn't have made sense, because you couldn't have gotten a 4 gig compact flash card anywhere near the price of a hard drive at that point. Yeah, now that I think about it, I bought a 48 megabyte card back then, and it was super expensive. I bought that for my digital camera. But yeah, so Wing Commander 2 was my favorite game. With the speech pack, that was awesome. And then Space Quest 4, the CD-ROM version, I thought was excellent. I love that game. I played through it recently. That was a lot of fun. And then Wing Commander 3 and 4 I liked because of the acting, because they had Mark Hamill's in it and stuff. And that'll be one of the things that we run when we do the demo disc thing, because that PC Gamer disc that I got has a demo of Wing Commander 3. And that was their very first disc that came out. And it's got Mark Hamill and John Rhys-Davies and a bunch of like well-known Hollywood actors. But the gameplay part, I mean, the gameplay is good, but it's not as good as Wing Commander 2. And what I loved about Wing Commander was it had a great story. And then you had to progress to different fighters. All the different the space fighters you flew in had different characteristics. It was a really good game. And Wing Commander 1 was great, but 2 just like they just got everything right in that one. And then I would say Wing Commander Prophecy, which was the 5th game, I liked quite a bit because it made use of the 3D accelerated hardware. So they were able to get, I think the gameplay was as good as Wing Commander 2 and Prophecy, and the video was there as well. So Mark Hamill was in that game too. So that one, I think, Wing Commander 2 was my favorite DOS game, and Prophecy, I would say, is probably my favorite Windows game, because that worked with the 3D accelerated hardware. And there is a great Wing Commander website called wcnews.com. They have been posting every day since 1998. Here, I'll pull it up on screen here real quick. Yeah, check this out. These guys have been posting every day since 1998. Isn't that crazy? And they have like all sorts of modifications, so you can get the game working no matter what you got. Let me see if I can go and find their first post. So they have like an archive. Yeah, here's the archive. And look at this. Like I said, they've posted every single day since August of 1998. Isn't that crazy? And so Prophecy came out in 98. That's when it came out. So it's awesome. They have all the fan stuff. It's all here. And every day, without question, for 22 years. wcnews.com. So Mark Dell interviewed the Wing Commander developer. That's Chris Roberts. And he's the guy doing Star Citizen, which I paid for like 8 years ago and still don't have a game to play. All right, the third time on Boot's a charm here, hopefully. We are rebooting for a third time after it did all of its hardware detection, and let's hope it gets going. I will say that it does feel a lot faster running off the compact flash card than it does running from the old spinning hard drive that was in here before. It does feel a lot quicker. This machine, by the way, has, I think I upgraded it to about like 96 megabytes of RAM. I'm not sure how the module math works out on that, but there is a good amount of memory on this one now, more so than what it had when I first got it. And it looks like we got to copy a few more files here, and so once this is done, we will pick it up and hopefully everything will be working. All right, what happened now? Let's go details. Oh, great. Hoping I can find the file on here. Ah! Setup cannot find the file it is looking for. I hate when this happens. Setup cannot find a file on the DHCP. Oh, this is a networking thing. All right, so what's the... I can't browse to the thing. I'll skip the file. Great, something's not going to work now. I know it's not going to work now because I can't find. I don't know like what the path is to the. I'm not sure I see Windows System. This is all going to go bad now. This is all networking stuff, so I'm not too worried about it, but oh no, file services. No, 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 no. You know what I might do? I'm going to pop this disk out and stick it in my... I remember this happening when I used to install Windows, and I can't remember how to fix it. I think I needed to find the right thing. Like, this is the very unfriendly nature of this operating system. This is why people like hated computers, because you were doing everything right, and it was not cooperating. So now what I'm going to do here is just pop it in my Mac over here where I have an external CD-ROM. And let's see if we can get the file structure here. And I've got this is going much longer than I anticipated. But I used to encounter this all the time. I remember doing this. I used to install these things over and over again. All right, C or D Windows Win98. These are all cab files. All right, well, we'll try D Windows 98. And let's see if we can get through this here. But you would think it would know where the files were that it needed to install from. All right. Oh, there it goes. Okay, we're good now. So I had it pointed at D Win98. So I'm sure something's not going to work now because I totally got impatient. But who's supposed to know that, right? Remember this screen, unknown device. We don't know what it is. And I got no drivers. All right, we're going to skip that device. This was my biggest fear, that we were going to encounter this. Now, it did detect a parallel port, so that's good. I do have video drivers, so that I know I can get going. It did detect it looks like the audio device, so that's good. My chief concern is the USB port, because that's our means of getting files into this thing. Although it looks like the networking might have been detected, although I skipped some of those files that it needed. Found the joystick port there. All right, there's the infrared plug and play. That's the IR blaster. It found that. So it's finding a lot of the hardware. That's good. Okay. Let's hope we get the display adapter going properly. Oh my goodness. Ugh, I forgot how awful this was. All right, so let's see what this window is back here. Okay, so it's still doing, it's multitasking installations here. So let's let this finish doing whatever it's doing. Oh, there's the PCI VGA compatible display adapter. And now we've got 2 add hardware wizards. So let's go with this one. All right, it's doing standard VGA right now, which I'm okay with, because like I said, I have the drivers on a USB stick. So I will fix that after we reboot here. Because apparently this driver is something that was common for these higher end laptops back then. Mark Dell wants to know if I have any Sidewinder joysticks. I think I do actually have a Sidewinder joystick kicking around somewhere. There's a question about whether or not I can run Flight Simulator 2020. Probably not. And here's the best part about Windows security. There's your password, sucker. All right. Yeah, I'm hoping that the USB port works. Because I remember, I think it was Windows 95 second edition that added support for USB. But we will see. And it was funny, too, because you would get like the standard VGA driver to work, and then when you activated the driver for whatever card you had, like the performance was like night and day. Because once you get like this card going, it was accelerated for 2D graphical user interface stuff. Oh, look at this. It found the drivers for the, or maybe it didn't, PC MCIA card thing. Let's see if it's got it on the Windows disk. It did detect it. That's a driver we might be able to track down. Ooh, the CD-ROM drive is starting to make some weird noises. Okay, there it goes. It's just going to a standard modem there. Oh, it beeped. It found it. Remember that beep it used to make? Caitlin said this is actually epic. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty here. I could do a cliffhanger episode and say we'll be back next time. Will it boot? Oh, I got sound. It did this. It did the startup sound. I'm going to turn the volume all the way up on this thing. I got to say, that was so weird to not hear the hard drive going on this thing. Well, that's a good sign, right? We're on the desktop. And what I want to do... Oh, yeah. I'm going to try to make it louder here. Playing a little song. You hear that? All right, we'll come back to that. Let's see if I can turn the volume up here from the, yeah. Okay. Yeah, remember they had stereo sound? They took all the sounds from Windows 95 and they made them like stereo panning. All right, so let's go into the control panel here. Let's just see if we can get the display to... Oh, we can go higher here. So let's go to, I think it's probably going to go to 800 by 600 maybe. No. Yeah, it's stuck at that. Okay. So let's see. I am cautiously optimistic that we can get these video drivers going. Oh, look at that. Isn't that crazy? It found it. It found it. Oh, no. Yep, somebody was right about having to find the mass storage driver. Windows unable to locate a driver for this device. You want to install a driver now, click Next. If not, hit back. All right, so we're going to have to do some more work on that. Okay, so I am so loath to do this, but I'm curious what happens here if we plug in the network. I'm just going to see if it even picks it up. No, it's not on there. It has, so actually this infrared, believe it or not, can do TCP/IP networking. Isn't that crazy? All right, so let's go back to the system manager. We may have to come back to this because I am running out of time here. My wife's going to want me upstairs to put the kids to bed. But let's see here. Network adapters. Let me pop that card out and plug it back in again and see what happens here. So we got that PC card here, this one here. I'm just going to pop it back in. And the modem part of it is being detected, but the other one isn't. All right, let me try this again. Because we got to get some files into this thing. I have no floppy drive anywhere. So that's not going to work either. So I wonder if the USB bus is clearly getting detected, right? Because it's, yeah, it's got a controller. What if, just for the heck of it here, what if we plug this thing in, this card reader? Will that work? I doubt any of this stuff is going to work. See, this is back when you needed drivers for even USB devices. It's like how conditioned are we now? Like just plug in this USB stick and you're good. You know what I could do? Oh, I know what I could do. You know what we could do? We can shut this thing down, pull the compact flash card out, and stick it in my Mac and copy the file over because it's just FAT32. That's what we could do. And Charles G. had the same idea that I had, probably before I had it. Okay, so we're going to shut down. Oh, it's shutting down. I got to do it properly. Johnny Castaway, that was a funny, I remember him. That was like the screensaver, right? With the little guy that would do different things. And he would have like the island, this guy was on an island trying to get off and like he would just constantly fail at getting off the island. I think it's locked up, shutting down, so we're just gonna coax that along there. Okay, so let me pull the power out of it real quick. And what I'm gonna do now, see the amount of effort you have to go through to get this stuff going. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull the card out, and I'm going to copy these files onto this card using my Mac, because I can put the card in here and connect it to my Mac. So I'm going to plug this into my little dock here, and I'm going to plug the USB stick in over here. I'm going to be in so much trouble because I know she's looking for me up there. Okay, so let me undo this, and I'm going to minimize that. And so now, yeah, so this is going to work. Okay, so check this out. Let me close this, and close that. All right, so this is that. So I'm going to make a new folder here called drivers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, I got to find these drivers that I put on here. Shoot. Maybe I didn't get the video driver. I thought I did. Or did I call it something incorrect? I think I called it incorrectly. I called it audio, but it's not audio. This is, yeah. I'm just looking on the thing here. Display, yeah, this is the display driver from 1999. So this is like the most recent display driver. I called it audio, but it's really display. I'm going to call it that. I'm going to copy this to here. And while I'm at it, I am going to copy Doom over. So then we don't have to futz around with that. Okay, so we're good there. So now I'm going to pop this out. It's actually kind of easy. It's too easy, which means it's not going to work. And then I got to hunt around for USB file, because I want to be able to use that USB port, or at a minimum get this thing on the network somehow. And now we're going to put this hard drive back together. All right. Let's get this thing back on here. Okay, there we go. Ouch. It's got my finger pinched in there. Ow, that hurt. The computer bites back. That'd be a class action lawsuit these days. Okay. Are we ready? Phil's Computer Lab has USB drivers. That's good to know, Matt Bell. Thank you. I will check that out. Mark Dell is passing along his, Grayson Petty, thank you for your super chat. He says, I gotta go cook me something to eat. It's been fun talking to you too, Grayson. Thank you for tuning in and your support. Much appreciated. And we will see you next time. All right, we are rebooting here. Mark Dell, thank you for your super chat as well. Install Bonsai Buddy. Why do I remember Bonsai Buddy? All right. Hear that? Okay. I'm going to leave that on there for... All right, let's just make sure those files made it over. So we'll go on here. You now remember you used to have to have your Windows CD-ROM around because there would always be something you'd install that needed the... Yeah, so here we've got the display driver. So that's there. Okay, so those files made it there, so that's good. Okay, so let me go and try to get that going here. So we'll go to, I'm just going to go to the system thing again. It's funny how a lot of the interface has not changed all that much, right? It's still very similar to how it used to be. So we're going to go here, we're going to go driver, update driver. And I'm going to do this one because I know where it is. Have disk. Remember that? The have disk. And we will browse and we'll go to display. And let's hope this is the right driver. If not, we're going to have to... Oh, it did find it. Okay, good. I think we're good. I mean, so now if this works, we have display and audio, which is more than I expected. All right, I'm going to pick up a take here. Yeah, I'll summarize it. All right, so now we're going to reboot after it's done with whatever it's doing. Brett Wetzel, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. You all are keeping me going here because now my screen's frozen up. And this is one of the things, like you don't know if it's doing something. Because like my activity indicator here is not doing anything. Oh, it's doing something. There it goes. The hard drive did read. Sometimes you want to just like reset it because like, is it locked up or what's it doing? There it goes. Okay. I'm glad I wasn't impatient. I'm going to pick up a record here, I think. All right, so we have now hopefully installed a display driver on here. I had to actually pull the compact flash card out and stick it in my Mac in order to get this thing to work. So we do have audio functional, and hopefully when this comes back up, the display driver will be working. Now it looks as though it's a lot sharper than it was before, and as you can hear, we've got audio coming out of the speakers, so things are starting to come together here, but the display still is not perfect. The resolution here is just not right. So I'm going to jump into the control panel and see if we can get that fixed. I did find a driver for the chipset, not for this computer specifically for the graphics, so that could be an issue here. But let's get up to the native resolution of 1024 by 768. And if I remember correctly, I could put this into true color, I think, at that. Nope, I have to go to high color, 16-bit at 1024 by 768. And if we do the restart here, let's try to do it without restarting. I have to restart anyhow. Okay, there we go. Yeah, we're good. Awesome. So now we've got a full version of Windows 98 running here off of the solid state drive. Little camera focusing issue here. Let's get my camera back in focus. There we go. And we're good to go. Now, I don't have this on the network yet. I've got to track down some network drivers for that, PC MCIA card that we have on here. But I can probably play a pretty mean game of solitaire, although I don't see it on my list of programs here. So we'll have to poke around for that. But we can maybe load up Outlook Express just to get something running here on the Windows desktop. So we do have that going, and we can sign up for our MSN Internet ISP. Now, one thing I did get on here, let me go into the command line real quick, or command, is I did install Doom on here, which I downloaded from the Internet Archive. So we can maybe give a go with Doom real quick here and try that out in DOS. So let me get this installed, and we'll see if we can get Doom to run on this thing, and then we'll come back with a wrap up and then a preview of what's going to come after this. Yeah, that was a bad ending to that. So let me see if I can save something from that. So I'm getting tired now, so like my ability to communicate is quickly reducing itself. Okay, so let me go check this out real quick. I'm just going to play this back at the end part back real quick. I'm going to pick up a record here, I think, on this thing, and then we'll give a go with Doom real quick here and try that out in DOS. So let me get this installed, and we'll, yeah. So let me get this installed, and we will take a look and see how it runs. All right. Just fixing that clip. And okay, so now, yeah, so far I've got at least 20 clips here that we'll be putting into this video when I'm done with it. Okay, so we're going to choose the music card. We'll just say Sound Blaster. And the FX card, we'll say Sound Blaster. I think it's all defaulted here. Yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah. All right, so let's go over to options here. All right, I think we're good to go. It actually runs Doom pretty nicely, doesn't it? 3, 2, 1. Hang on, my children are running upstairs, making a ton of noise. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right, so as you can hear, we've got Doom running. I'm actually just running this on top of Windows, so we might get a little bit better performance here if we were to boot into DOS directly. But look how nicely this runs. Now, this again is a 233 megahertz chip on this one, so I would expect games like Doom, which came out a number of years before this machine was made, to run pretty nicely here. But yeah, good stuff. So I am super excited about this. Now, what I want to do in an upcoming live stream is play around with some older PC Gamer demo discs that I have in my back room, because I was subscribed to the magazine, and the early days of those discs would run really nicely on this machine. Now, when this one came out, again, I bought this in '98 and it came out in '97. By that point, you had the 3D accelerator cards kind of taking over the PC gaming world. So this could run a lot of current for the time, current AAA titles, but they were really starting to gravitate towards the 3D accelerators, namely the Voodoo cards at that point. So the games that will be the best on here will be probably the games from the early '90s that were designed to run, again, without a 3D accelerator card. Games like Doom here, maybe even Quake to some degree as well. So we're going to come back to this now that we've got everything working here, but I'm super excited to kind of get some new life breathed into this system. And as clunky as it was to get Windows 98 installed, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I've got my video driver working, I've got the sound working. I do want to work to try to get it connected to the network to some degree, which will be easier than having to pull the compact flash card out every time I want to move files back and forth. And I'll look around too to see if I can find some USB drivers for the USB port here, and I could then do some sneaker netting of USB storage devices to that port there on the side. But all in, this laptop is pretty much ready to go for the project that I have for it, and it's so nice to just see how well it's working and how good the display works here after all this time. So we'll get as much use out of this as we can before it finally bites the dust on us. But so far, I think we're in pretty good shape. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. All right, I can live with that. I'll chat with you all for a few more minutes here, and I think we're good. So let me finish up my thing here. And that was the shareware version of Doom that I was running, the very same version that I downloaded from a BBS back in the day. So there you go. Caitlin is still watching on the Amazon chat there and says I'm cool. My kids would disagree. I would disagree. I think I'm a cool nerd maybe. Yeah, so we've got some good stuff going here. Smoke Monster's joining us too, everybody. So this is faster than AO486, at least for now, which is the Mr. Core for DOS. And Kosama says, delete System 32 for a speed boost. Yeah, just boot it right into DOS, and we'll be good to go there. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, here's Claudio's got a fun one here. Maybe Clippy can come in and help us. Is this cool though? I mean, this thing looks great. I guess I'm surprised though. Where's Solitaire? Like, isn't it Solitaire like in part of the? It's like Entertainment has like the CD player. Because I always remember it being under accessories somewhere. Maybe it was a different. Maybe it was part of the Plus pack. Maybe. I don't know. I got it up and running. That's all I care about. Pretty neat. So yeah, there we go. Lots of good questions coming in too. A lot of, let's see, 4 people. Hey. I'm just looking through. I just missed a bunch of chats here. I just want to see if I didn't miss anything important here. Yeah, so what we'll do, here's my master plan for all of this. So I have a, and Smoke Monster will know about this. There's a, Retro RGB posted this on Twitter the other day. Let me see if I can find it. I bought this scaler. Where is it? This thing. Here, I'll show you what I'm looking at. It's this thing, the GBSC, and you can plug in VGA to it, and it will scale up lag-free to my video system. So I'll be able to, even if this display dies on me, which it likely will at some point, we can connect that scaler up and pull the video out of this thing. And that's kind of my master plan with this. So that is coming late January, so that'll probably be when we do the first stream with this thing. But I've got demo discs for all sorts of different systems there. So yeah, so I was been following Twitter on that Smoke Monster. It's like, well, I got to get one of those because that's been the one thing I haven't been able to capture very well is VGA, and there are times in which I may want to do that, right? So so that's what I got, and yeah, I've got like I got shareware CDs. The Internet Archive has some great stuff. If you really want to like go back in time. Jason Scott, you should follow him on Twitter, Text Files. If you're into like all this old retro computing stuff, he's got a great podcast where he just has he's a good storyteller. He's got some great presentations on YouTube that you can find. And let me find it on archive.org. He maintains a lot of the Internet Archive's retro computer stuff. And so, for example, they have this shareware collection of just old shareware disks. And so what you used to do is you would buy these big disks of shareware, and they'd just fill up a CD with everything they could download off of BBSs. And some BBSs would have a CD-ROM drive where you could download from them directly. So he's just got all this stuff. And all of this will run on this old computer. Isn't this cool? So you can download these and burn them. Some of them are copyrighted software, but most of these are just shareware disks. So I had one called, because I had a CD-ROM on my BBS, and I had one called the Pure Shareware, I think it was called. Let me see if I can find it. Which one did I have? I'm just looking through here. I think the one I had was this one of these. Here's what it looked like. And so they would just fill it up with a bunch of zip files, and they had it organized, But you could spend like days just going through this CD because remember these games and things you're downloading on this stuff are like minimal. So you could pack thousands of zip files onto these CDs and just kind of explore what's on them. Because really, the biggest impediment back when I was a kid with these devices, not so much with this one because I was on the internet by then, but one of the biggest impediments of distribution was the fact that like you had to connect with a modem to get stuff. And I remember Doom and the Apogee games, those were all on a BBS in Texas, which is where Apogee software and id Software were located. So when the games came out, like when Doom was made available, I had to download it from Texas because you couldn't get the file. It hadn't made its way out to other places just yet. And none of my local BBSs ever got the files quickly. And it was a big file. It took about an hour and change to download the 2 megabytes or so that Doom was going to require. So, or maybe it wasn't that big, but it was at least an hour or more phone call. So that phone call was probably, they were charging you like 20 cents a minute for long distance, if not more back then. So it was hard to get a lot of files quickly or things to play with, shareware titles. So those discs were really helpful because you could get a big disc, you buy it for 20 or 30 bucks, it would save you the phone charges and you would often explore some things. So it's neat. Yeah, Travis says I need to look at SimCity. Actually, believe it or not, I have, oops, wrong thing here. I have one of my SimCity 2000 cities still on there in my archive. So I'll have to check that out. Yeah, so I think we're good. I got what I needed to get done here. And if I don't go upstairs soon, my wife's probably going to kill me because I hear the children are still running around. It's like about bedtime now. And I'm going to be in trouble if I don't get my tuchus up there. And then see where it goes. Kay in the Amazon chat says, I wonder how much this computer would be to buy nowadays. Well, let me go back to the beginning of where we started with all this because I have an advertisement for what this machine cost in 1997. So let me pull this back up here for you. So this is what it cost in 1997. $6,000. And actually, the way this one's configured, because it has 96 megs of RAM, it would have been a lot more than that. So it was very pricey. Now I paid half, or my dad, my dad paid half that for this back then. But you do the inflationary math on this. You know, this machine was probably what, about $7,000 or $8,000 in today's money, if not more. So PCs were not cheap. It wasn't until e-machines came out around 98, 99 that you started to see the prices start to drop on PCs. And those were available for about $500, which was a huge decrease in price from where things were. Sim Tower was good. Yep, people were talking about Sim Tower in here. Charles G, yeah. Actually, so you're still waiting hours for things to download. You know, it's funny because I wanted to try out the Flight Simulator VR the other day, and it took me forever to download that update, and I'm on gigabit now. It's crazy. Caitlin in the Amazon chat, I still have my first computer. This is great info. Yeah, I think this is, what's great is that adapter that I bought, that Saiba dual compact flash thing, because what we did is we basically are now using this instead of this. And this has no moving parts, completely silent. It is a lot faster than this thing is. So it's good. Now these are not, here would be my advice though, is if you can find memory for your old computer, put in as much as you can. Because if you end up doing a lot of virtual memory where it's swapping memory out to the drive, these things die because they're not designed to have that much of a heavy write load. So you want to make sure that you have some ability not to load too much load onto these things. So try to get as much RAM for that old computer as you can. Eric's Variety Channel says that it's about $9,500 today. Wow. Yeah, this was like a top-of-the-line machine. And I remember what happened was, I can't remember how we found the deal. It must have been on their website. But when I found the price for this thing, I was like, oh my God, because it was half price. Half price. And this was like top of the line. And again, they were liquidating them. This was February of 98 when I got it. It's weird because I just remember like the day I picked it up. I think I'm such a tech nerd that I just remember the day I got everything. So I drove home. So it was expensive, and they wouldn't ship it to me at school because it was on my dad's credit card. So I had to drive down to the office to pick it up. And I brought my friend Hasib with me down. He was from Pakistan. And he was I was the student body president, and Hasib was the president of the program council, which was the second biggest organization on campus. So the student government by budget. Student government was the largest entity on campus, and then he had the second largest group. And so we were good buddies. And so we drove down, got some Chinese food at the local Chinese takeout place, which I still go to almost every week here. And picked up the computer and went back up. And yeah, this thing was a hot ticket. So I think we're okay to just shut her down here. It's fine. So yeah, there we go. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning into this 2.5-hour extravaganza. I'm going to upload something to the channel for the morning, so you'll have hopefully something to watch in a more condensed format. And Robert Riley in the Amazon chat says typically Windows 98 hangs on shutdown. Yeah, I think that's the case. So I think we're okay there. Give me 1 second here. I just want to add my little bye-bye thing here. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with all of this. Image. There we go. So I'm excited. So yeah, so we're gonna, once that scaler thing comes in, we'll start playing around with the demo discs and stuff. I think it'd be kind of fun. Because these streams do well. Like these don't do well as videos, but they do well as streams. And I'm always looking for more ways to engage on Amazon and on streaming. And I think these little compact flash adapters, if you got an old IDE something kicking around, and by the way, they've got SATA to these also. But if you have SATA, I would get a SATA SSD. Steve Murray, yeah, this is a good recommendation, Steve. I'm going to try to track one of these down. A PATA IDE SSD is going to have better write endurance. Absolutely. So that might be where I go if I really start doing a lot with this. I think a lot of what we're going to run is going to be off the CD, and this has got a ton of room on there. And you know what I would love if you all want, send me some recommendations for for Linux installs that we can try on this. This is a Pentium 233 MMX, the original Pentium, not the Pentium 2. So let me know what you would recommend. Eric's Variety Channel, thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom to you. Actually, we're past the Sabbath now. The sun is down. But thank you very much, because we started before the, the Sabbath ended. I'm not supposed to do any work on the Sabbath, right? But I do it anyhow. And we have not done any flavor of Linux yet, Keegan, but I will look at that, because I'm sure it would be kind of fun to find a distro that we can boot up on here. It was very difficult to get Linux working back then. So there you go. All right, everybody. I am going to get out of here. Puppy Linux, Mark Dell says. We'll try that. Email me, Mark. Remind me about that. I'm going to go take care of business upstairs, get the children into their beds, because tomorrow we get to get our noses tickled again with the COVID tests. So hopefully we'll be okay. We're all feeling fine, so I think we're going to be just fine. Okay. Edward wants to know if I could bring my wife down on the live stream. Yeah, one day maybe we'll have her join me. She is not a tech person, although she likes, she was into Nintendo as a kid. So she did like that. And Kasama says, yeah, my Tuchus is in trouble. Exactly. All right, everybody. And I will talk to you all soon. Let me by the way, I want to thank all of our super chatters. Eric's Variety Channel, Jeff Elder, Grayson Petty, Eric again, Mark Dell, Grayson again, and Brett Wetzel. Thank you all for your super chats today. And I'm just glad this thing's working. I wasn't expecting, actually, that we'd get it all functional here, but we did get it working. So there you go. All right, everybody, thank you as always, and we'll talk soon, okay? Have a good night, and enjoy your evenings. Bye-bye.